Hi, and welcome to the Scientist Sage Sangha. And tonight we are talking about embrace. I'm Nancy Anderson Dolan from Wise Heart Wellness, and I'm so thankful you joined us tonight. We do Sangha every Tuesday evening, and they're available on YouTube to see if you can catch them with us. And tonight, this idea really, there is only really two choices in life. Either you fight life or you embrace life. And if you fight it, you lose. You can't make life go as you want all the time. And but if you embrace it, you become one with it and you'll be lived. Life literally lives through you as you embrace it. So I'm a big fan of embracing all sorts of things because really we know that life is messy. We want to control it, we want to make it go our way and, behave just as we should. But it's just like trying to get your hair to go a certain way at the last moment and it won't. There's so many things that aren't going to happen. Our carefully crafted plans often just, move out into disarray. So I used to think that really, if I worked hard enough, if I, managed things well enough, it would go a certain way. And that my life wasn't going that way. It sort of pointed to some, you know, default problem with me. And so I would try more and more again, but it didn't ever work out that well. And then, I really got it. A friend came over and to visit my house for the first time, and we had small children at that time. And I said, "Yeah, forgive my house." She says, "Hmm, just looks lived in to me." I'm like, "Wait a minute, that's true. That chaos is that I'm having this life." And that has had to be the way I lived in my life. It really was just showing up for what was going on at the moment. And that showing up is half the battle. If we get caught up in having it being perfect, we kind of miss out on a lot of things in life. So that idea is not the quest for perfection, but embracing the mess that it is and finding that grace in all of those things. We often feel utterly overwhelmed, and that's what it is. And maybe we need to feel overwhelmed to really understand this, that just embracing what is the best way to go about it, not trying to do 4,000 things that will make it be different. And that idea is, that's hard for us to accept because we live in a world that says there is a right way to do it. And we think that there is a right way if we could just figure it out and work hard enough or get the right things in place, it would go in the way that we thought it should, which of course isn't true, but that doesn't stop our culture from promoting it. But in my personal case, my attention problems were my biggest and best teacher about just embracing life as it is, because I literally cannot create and live life like I see other people doing, or as it's promoted that they're doing it on media and things like that. And if I don't worry about that, I have a wonderful time. A lot of my attention things take me down rabbit holes that are so interesting, take me to places that I wouldn't have gone if I didn't have those attention things. I have interesting encounters, all sorts of things. So I can truly enjoy my life that way if I let myself. And so learning our lessons from our mess is a really important part of life. And even allowing that for the people around us as well, for our children, for our spouses, for our families, for our friends, and just embracing them as they are as well, not just ourselves in life, but that imperfection that we see it as isn't necessarily the right descriptor for that. This is just life. And it changes the way it changes. We have challenges. We have, things that we think should go a certain way, and we have been made sure that they would, and they don't. And there's all sorts of things like that. We have these ideas in our culture that, we should have it just like this. And if it's not like that, then you're doing something wrong. And there's so much media out there about how to do it right, all sorts of things like that. But the idea of Japanese concept of wabi sabi is accepting imperfection. But really, we spoke about that in a past Sangha, and it's more than that. It's about finding beauty in those imperfections. And it inspired me to accept myself as I am and my unique journey so that my journey isn't laid out. It can't be foretold. There'll be all sorts of plot twists as we go along. And if I can accept those plot twists, I can enjoy the adventure. So this idea is also that these things that we think it should be like, the more, better, best that often media presents, it's a moving target. So when we get to where we think there'll be this is it. This is what I was reaching for. Now things are good. The target moves and there's a new thing. So the idea that we are in life to not live life, that the life we're in isn't exactly real. It'll be real when we get the house, the job, the vacation party, the promotion, the achievement, etc. Those are the things that we should be hunting. And it's not true. The satisfaction in life often comes when we slow down and we just are present in our lives, just showing up. Otherwise, we are in that state of chronic dissatisfaction and the restlessness that actually drains the joy out of all of the everyday pleasures that we could be embraced. We put off our enjoyment and relaxation and the satisfaction until something else happens. And life isn't made up of those big things back to back. It's made up of all these lovely little ordinary moments that we can find beauty in. One of the things that I am just enjoying so deeply right now is I have a very small dog that likes to lay right against my body when I sleep. And I wake up, that's the first thing I feel is this soft little body. And it's like, oh, there she is. And those kinds of things are really lovely. And it might be the smell of meal cooking or the anticipation part of taking a trip. There is as much enjoyment in the anticipation of something as there is in the actual event. And a lot of people miss that. And they're so busy getting ready for the event that they're missing that incredibly enjoyable anticipation. Because otherwise, sometimes we get to the event, and the event is smaller or shorter or whatever, and we're like, oh, that wasn't as good as I thought it would be. But because we haven't enjoyed the anticipation, the actual being present in the event, not trying to control it, and then the afterwards of remembering the event. So we want to be present in each of those states. So the very first part is about embracing you. Because if you don't embrace you, then you're not present for anything else. And it's really challenging. I have had so many people really debate this with me in my clinical practice. And they like, no, well, if I embrace myself the way I am right now, I won't ever get any better than I am. And it's like, that's not actually true. When we embrace that, the reverse is true. When we embrace who we are right now and how it is, it actually allows us to move forward to the next moment, embracing both what we have and what we desire, not demand. Because when we demand, we're tied up in ways that take us out of the present moment. But maybe somebody wants to be kinder or healthier or more present or just being able to do something or whatever it is. But if they can be in that moment where they are right now, they can go, oh, here's a way that I could move forward. And this is really challenging because we want to be at the end point of the thing instead of the next small, tiny little bit of change. And we can enjoy the process of where we're going, wherever it is taking us, but not if we can't be here in the moment, because then there's no process. There's just here in the moment and dissatisfaction. And it's challenging that we need to embrace both, who we are right now, who we want to be, and the small steps, the next viable step, the next guided viable step. Because we look around in our culture and go, oh, if that's the way to do it. And we're marketed to in that way, where it's like, here is the 5 things you need to do. in this order at this speed, and then you will be enjoying life. And of course, it doesn't go that way because all of us have different paths. It doesn't matter what is going on, whether it's going through an educational path or a job path or a wellness path. We all have our own things going on. But we can find out from where we are, where we're delusional about life, like, yes, I'm going to lose 40 pounds by next week. Or I'm going to finish school in a shortened timeline. Or I'm going to go to school, know exactly what I want to do, and come out the other end and it'll all be ready to roll. And that's not how it is for a lot of us. Lots of people go to school for a long time, then get out and find out they're going to do something else entirely with their lives. They, find out that they have some physical issue that they have to deal with before they can truly be well. There's so many things. And that's the journey. I have met so many amazing people on the journey that I was headed somewhere else on. And they have become close friends, they've become trusted advisors. It is truly amazing. And the next part of being able to do that, we embrace ourselves, is we change that voice in our heads, because often we're our harshest critics. And we are more often telling ourselves what is not okay in our lives and about us specifically. And if we can move that, embracing ourselves with self-compassion, so embracing just what is, what size I am, how smart I am, what age I am, all sorts of things. And as I age right now, I have lots of fears about aging. And so I'm like, oh no, I don't want to have that happen. That's not going to happen to me. And writing this particular Sangha, it became very clear that I had a little work to do there of embracing whatever's coming next. And it actually can be enjoyable, whatever is coming next. And people think, but wait, what about a funeral or a death or a loss? And it's like, you can live life deeply. Embracing it deeply creates this sense of having lived well. And if I fight life, then I feel forever like I'm missing something. And so truly, truly, I have had some of the most fun times in my life when there's been unexpected circumstances, even very sad circumstances. But the people that could show up and be present together, we could experience some good things, even with difficulties. I went to see the show Come From Away recently, and I just loved it. It's the story of all the planes that got diverted to a small Canadian coastal town. And what happened there was everybody was trying to be somewhere else, clearly. But in the end, people bonded and had amazing experiences, made some lifelong friends, and it's something that they could have never had if everything went according to plan. And so this idea of just not being harsh with ourselves, not saying this is not okay, but really embracing what is happening, embracing how we are in what is happening. If I am anxious and resisting, I can embrace myself while I'm anxious and resisting, and it starts to calm down. If I fight my anxiety, it escalates. This is a basic tenet of therapy. You can't fight those things. You can open up to them though, and then they move. Life flows through us if we just let it. Well, and embracing others would be the next part. And that is the next hardest part generally for people, that embracing others as they actually are. And people like, well, I can't, I'm not going to put up with this, poor treatment, or I'm not good. And it's like, that's not what we're doing. We're embracing people as they are. Had a long talk with a young person today about embracing what really is, not how we want people to be, but how they are. And when we do that well, it gives us the same result as when we embrace ourselves. It gives us that idea that, wow, maybe this person can't be honest or on time, or maybe they can't reciprocate feelings, all sorts of things like that. And so we can find those things out and we can act from there. And sometimes people have relationships that are just a little shifted with in embracing things like that. And sometimes people's hearts open up. And in that deep embrace, other people get a chance to change as well. But we can take action, learn things, experience new things every time that we embrace other people as they are, not as we want them to be. And this, again, like I say, is probably the next hardest thing. So, in all of these things we want to embrace, one of the basic tenets is to let go of control, because not embracing things is trying to control things. And letting go of control and really embracing a full surrender. Like, I'm not going to try and manipulate everything here. That's when we do get ideas. We get guidance from inside us. When we really show up to the moment, we'll feel certain things like, oh, I should go and talk to that person, or, I shouldn't be playing this sport. I don't really like it. Or this, movie isn't the kind of show I like to go to. So maybe I have to find people who like to go to the kind of movies I like to go to. And it can be really simple things like that, but it can also be jobs. There are so many clients that come to me, and as we work through what's going on in their lives and how they're feeling, they often find that they're leaving a situation. Maybe a location where they live, maybe a job that they have, maybe it's sitting into the fact that they had a desire that's been pushing them, but they've just put it aside. They haven't embraced it. So lots of things change when we embrace things and just surrender. Like, we don't know how it's going to go. Maybe there is something I want to do. I don't know how I'm going to make it happen. Maybe there's something I need to step away from. I don't know how I'm going to make that happen. But just what is. Because if we're trying to control everything, we're actually too exhausted to enjoy anything. And that we don't learn things. We don't learn about the flow. We don't see what's there. We just keep going and focusing and trying to hold on to things as we want them. And especially when something unexpected happens. I talk about the fastest embracer has the most opportunity for evolution and enjoyment. Because when people don't do that, my partner is great at this. If somebody says at the airport, is there anyone that'd be willing to take the next flight or another chance at, airfare, free airfare somewhere? My partner is right up there first and takes advantage of that possible change. So those kinds of things, there's always an opportunity with things that we are not thinking should go the way that they're going. But what about some practical tips here first? The practical kinds of things are the practice of mindfulness is the very first one, I would say. And mindfulness and, not necessarily sitting still and what do I hear? What do I see? That's useful. But often when we get quiet and just pay attention to what is going on in our mind, maybe not in the front, but at the back, what's going on right now? What am I embracing? What am I resisting? Those two questions can be totally transformational. When I am resisting, say, my dog that was sick, it was really, really hard because I didn't want to deal with it, but I knew it was nagging and I didn't want to deal with it. I knew it was nagging. That takes a lot of energy out of our lives. And if we can move forward to that, we can go forward. I know for myself in my early days of looking for wellness, I really, really understood finally that I couldn't do things on my own. I had to go and get some help. I had to get some help for physical issues that were going on with me. I had to get some help for mental issues that were going on with me. I had to get some help for the attention issues. And when I got help for all those things, the most amazing things happened. And that is the next move for us, is sitting still and like, where am I resisting things? Where am I not embracing myself? Where am I wanting someone else to be different? So just sitting still and being mindful in that way is a really good start. And I really put this in all the time. You can start to be mindful without taking any action. So someone says, well, I don't like the way I feel in my body. I'm like, okay, you can just sit with that feeling and notice that. And then you get to not notice it. And then you get to come back and notice it again. And I guarantee you, as you come and go, you'll notice that there might be an idea about something to do. Our bodies are amazing for this. Often in a room of people I'm working with, I'll say, take a few breaths and just notice if your body wants to move in some way. And some people will take off their sweater or take off their shoes or shift in their seat or move their chair somewhere else or want to sit on the floor. Their bodies tell them. And if we embrace that information that's coming from inside, we have a life that is much more comfortable and guided. I'm sure none of you have had this happen, but I have gone off in a few missions with some ideas in my mind that I probably shouldn't be doing that. And it turned out to be true. The things that I went out and this was a good idea, I'm sure of it, but had a little niggling idea in my mind. They didn't turn out that way. And if I can just embrace that, then I go, all right, that's what happens when I don't pay attention. And I can embrace what my body and brain are trying to tell me. And so that idea about just whether it's chaos you're embracing or whether it's quiet, whether it's happiness or sadness, or whether it's a thought, just whatever it is, you keep coming back to it and it distills into wonderful information for you. The other thing that I encourage people to do is set intentions and routines. So these are not rules, okay? This is how I want to be, and this is what I can do to support it. So I like to be waking up enthusiastically in my life. So literally before my feet hit the floor, when I open my eyes, I start with gratitude and I say, oh, yes, I'm awake. I'm awake. I have this soft little fuzzy dog. I am so grateful for these big trees in my backyard. I am so grateful that I have a home and a life and things to do today and places that I can go and I'm going to help people and I get to do these things. This is one wording change that I encourage people to make. Often people are talking about I have to do these things and changing the intent from I have to I want to or I get to is really interesting because they find that is the way of embracing their life. If I say I get to do these things, I feel differently about it. And if I say I have to do these things, you can tell you are in resistance if those words are coming out of your mouth. So that way, then I ask to be guided and graced. I want to be guided and graced. And then I breathe into my body so it can relax and know that we're going to get up in a minute. And so that intention about how to go through the day, one of the things I ask is, who am I going to help today? And so I set the intention that I just want to be of service in the world. And that often comes true. And it doesn't matter what you say, but what you think is what you intend. So when you say it out loud, you can hear yourself. I don't know about you, but I have some muttering in the background a lot of the time that shows me I'm resisting things. Like, oh, it's too early and I don't have enough time to do this. And, rah, 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 rah. And if I pay attention to that and go, oh, wait a minute, let me relax and just embrace the day instead of trying to rearrange it in a way that maybe I can't even arrange. So that idea about just being intentional and having routines that work for you to move forward in the day, being able to embrace it. The other, and sort of, this is almost, through the day, we'll say, celebrating things that are going well. And so when I celebrate those things that are going well, whether it's a surprise, not what I planned, or something I had planned that goes through, then I reaffirm that I am embracing what's going on in my life by celebrating it and acknowledging it. Those things are really important. especially if I'm moving forward to something like if I want to be more well, or if I want to have a better relationship, or if I want to clean my house or declutter, or get my dogs walked, whatever it is. But saying, look at me, I got out there and got the dogs walked, or I decluttered that drawer today, or look at me, I'm out of bed. All sorts of things like that. When I was struggling with depression, that was one of the things that was immensely helpful. If my feet were on the floor and I was standing up, that was a big win. And as I went through life like that, I started to accumulate that practice. So it was like having a cheering section for everything that I did. And I really highly, highly recommend it, because it is this full embrace of life as I'm living it today, not as it's perfectly unfolded. Um, the idea that I suggest too is to end the day in the same kind of conscious way. Where was I absent? Where was I present? Where was I really embracing things? Where was I resisting things? And that idea about I can actually like say no to someone's request, those kinds of things. If I said yes when I really wanted to say no, that's a resistance. And I need to find out those things. If I just routinely say yes to everything, I'm not going to have a life that's going to unfold with grace. It literally is, okay, how do I feel about this? I embrace my feeling at the moment, and I might say yes, absolutely enthusiastically, or I might say I'm not sure, or I might say no, I don't think that's for me. But so many people don't have those three options. So many people are afraid to say yes or no, are afraid to take time to consider it, things like that. Fear of missing out is a real thing that dogs a lot of people. So that idea to just, take your time, embrace the decisions. So then the last things I just talk about a bit is that whatever we embrace, that the messiness, that's truly who we are too. Nobody, can just have this perfect life. Nobody has that. For a long time in my life, I believed that those other people had these perfect lives. But when we embrace the reality that nobody has a perfect life, different people have different paths. If I embrace my path through this world this time, then I start to enjoy life a little more and relax a little more and savor it, where we wouldn't be able to do that. We're too busy fighting change when maybe change is just what we need. We might not know that, but maybe just what we need. Literally, the idea of controlling every little thing in life can indicate that we're having a life less than fully lived. That's an interesting thought for a lot of people to ponder. So I'll encourage you to show up, do your best, and trust that that's what is okay. That's what's good. And it'll bring you good things. So I'm not going to finish with the meditation today because we went a little bit longer. I would encourage you to go out and check out those lists, what you're resisting, what you're not, and what you might be guided to do instead. Thanks again for joining me, the Scientist Sage Sangha. And again, you can see these replays on YouTube at the Scientist Sage channel. Thanks for showing up. Good night. You are with me. I am with you. Blessed be.